Hi, I'm Steve Brown. I'm an AI futurist, and at the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference on April the 27th, I'll explain what that is, and I'll walk you through what I think is going to happen with AI and what that means for you and your business at the keynote there at 9 a.m. I hope to see you there. And in this podcast, I'm going to talk with Brian and give you a little preview, a little taste of what I'll be talking about. So let's get on with it.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owners Association, where real estate investors have found success since 1968. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group. This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 532. AI is changing how real estate decisions get made, and it's showing up fast in underwriting, operations, leasing, asset management, and investor communications. That's why the opening keynote at the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference on April 27th is Steve Brown, and his talk is called Navigating What's Next: Practical AI Strategy for Real Estate Investors and Operators. Steve brings a rare mix of real-world and frontier AI experience. He's an AI futurist and author, and he's held senior leadership roles at Google DeepMind and Intel, working at the intersection of advanced AI and how businesses actually operate. Today, we're going to talk about AI, why it matters for every type of investor, and how to use it in ways that actually move the needle. Steve Brown takes the stage Monday, April 27th at 9 a.m. at the Voss Place Conference Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Steve, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
You are an AI futurist, and you just have this incredible background with Google and Intel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how it is you became this AI, on the cutting edge of AI here.
I've been fascinated by AI since I was a little boy and, still had a good head of hair. I never wanted to have kids. We're getting very personal here, but I never wanted to have kids. And I started playing with computers when I was about, 9 or 10 years old, which now is not a big deal. But back then in the 70s, late 70s, no one had access to computers, very rare. And I knew when I first started programming them as a little boy, this was going to be the closest I would ever come to making life. And I've been fascinated by this idea of creating intelligence ever since. And I've always had this natural view of what's next, always asking what's next. And throughout my career at Intel, no matter the role I was in, I always found ways to be involved in thinking about the future until eventually I became one of Intel's two futurists working in Intel labs, figuring out what's the world going to be like 5, 10, and 15 years from now, and how will we develop technology to help support people's lives, to make people's lives better. So I've just been fascinated with it for my entire adult life and most of my childhood. And I've been lucky enough to be involved with some of the people who are on the leading forefront of AI development. And we are now going to see more impact, more change, more technologically driven change in the next 5 years than probably the last 55. And that's a message I'll be bringing to the conference on April 27th. But I'll explain why I think that's the case. But buckle up, everybody. There's a lot of change coming for all of us.
You're a futurist, and you're working at Intel, you're working at Google, and for someone like me who doesn't have your technical background, it's hard to understand that bridge between sitting around imagining the future and what it could be, because we've seen it in movies, and then actually employing that in real life, by developing AI methods. I mean, talk about that a little bit. How do you go from just like what's in your head to, okay, now we can actually see what AI is really all about?
I had 30 years at Intel working on digital transformation projects, helping customers to embrace digital technology and use it to transform their businesses. So it's deep in my soul, I suppose, a sort of innate understanding of the potential that technology has and what it takes to deploy it and make a change in a workflow or the way you go to market or the way that your back-end operations might run and how you drive efficiency, productivity, and so on. So I've been around the block enough times that I see how that plays out. I know how long it takes. People will say, "Oh, we can do this overnight." No, you can't. And when I see new technologies, I look at them and evaluate how is that going to collide with two other trends, right? As a futurist, I look at trends and how they come together. A futurist is not a fortune teller, right? I don't make predictions about the future. That is a fortune teller. I don't go into darkened rooms and smoke peyote and come up with, amazing predictions of the future. What a true futurist does, they look at trends, how those trends are going to play out over time, how AI in this case is going to improve, what the new capabilities will be. You look at business trends, you look at people trends, which is demographic and attitudinal trends, and then you look at how those collide in the future and what that will make possible in a certain time frame. Because ultimately what a futurist is doing is guiding clients, and I have a lot of clients in Fortune 100 companies, all the way down to startups. I help them ask and answer two questions. What is the future we want to build? And what is the future we want to avoid? Sort of different sides of the same coin. And you look at how those trends come together to help you answer those questions. And what you're trying to do is paint a landscape of possibility. What are all the possibilities out there? And then you look at the core purpose of your business, or if you're an individual, what do you think your purpose is? And then what's the intersection of purpose and possibility? And that's how you decide what you're going to do.
And it seems like technology has changed the boundaries of those possibilities over time. If you go back 20 years or whenever you started and you began at Intel and Google, and you look at what was possible then and what you thought might be possible later, how does that compare to where we are today?
I mean, even as a futurist, and I sort of live in the future, right? I'm always thinking about and imagining what the world's going to be like 5, 10, 15 years from now. Things that have accelerated so much now that it's hard to accurately project where we'll be 3 years from now, let alone 10. So things are moving very quickly. When I look at what's coming at us, we all need to plan how we are going to navigate a time of extreme change. And that means we all need to understand what the potential is, what's coming at us.
Well, give us an example, Steve, of just like where you thought we'd be. Like at this point in time, where did you think we would be? Are you surprised by where we are, or are we behind what you thought we would be at this point?
We're way ahead of where I thought we would be. And I think, I live in the future. I'm used to being in the future. And even I am shocked at the progress that AI is making, that robotics is making. Even people in the field are constantly surprised at how quickly things are moving. So if you'd asked me even 10 years ago, will we have robots in our homes 10 years from now? I'd have said probably not. Certainly not ones that are doing useful tasks and general purpose. And yet we are going to see robots deployed in homes this year that will do the vacuuming and tidy up and do the laundry. That's happening in 2026. It's shocking even to me, and I live in this world. So yes, it's going much, much faster than I thought.
Are there things that aren't happening that you thought would happen?
Yes, self-driving cars, great example. It turns out that's a much more complicated challenge to solve because you have a very dynamic environment. You have to be able to plan for snow and ice and people running out in front of you to get their skateboard. And so, yeah, that took longer than I think a lot of pundits in the industry thought. It looks like that's actually going to happen in the next 5 years now, and perhaps we'll see the fleet flip over and the ownership model will go more to a rider model. But yeah, that's one that took a lot longer than people thought.
I thought my kids growing up, I told them, you guys won't even need to get driver's licenses because there's just going to be self-driving cars and you won't have to worry about it. But now they're getting my son has his driver's license. My daughter's going to have hers in a couple of months. And I'm like, okay, I want these self-driving cars. But I know they're like on the warmer states, they seem to be a lot more available. But here in Michigan, they've really been slow to be adopted.
It'll take a little while to roll them out, but I think they're coming.
This is a real estate investing show. What thoughts do you have for real estate investors, rental property owners, as far as like just understanding, first of all, that this is real, this is here, and it's changing everything. And then how does it apply specifically to us as real estate investors?
I don't know your world as well, so let me talk in more sort of general terms, but these apply to all businesses, all industries equally. So it affects your industry as much as it does retail or any other sector. We're going to see a lot of change. The cliche in the industry is you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who knows how to use AI better than you, right? Cliche has been around for a number of years now. The same applies at a corporate level. You are not going to be destroyed by an AI. You are going to be put out of business by a company that has adopted AI and used it more effectively than you have. So there's a bit of an arms race going on here. So what that means is in every industry, including real estate investing, looking at how you can transform your company in the era of AI, the same way you had to transform it when everybody had to embrace the internet. You had to embrace it when the PC came, right? You moved from handwritten paper and typing pools to now moving information around digitally. And then with the internet, you were able to reach customers in new ways, right? We've had to go through those waves of change. The same is now true with AI. You have to figure that out all over again. The simple work that can be done, you can get AI licenses for tools for your employees. Help them have access to AI capabilities. If you've got Microsoft as your suite, you're going to get Copilot, for example. Some companies think that is enough. We've done AI, check. We've got a Copilot license for the office. That is 1% of the work. What you need to do is look at every workflow you have, every business process you have, and figure out where can I use AI to swap out tasks that were done by humans, but can be done as well or better by AI agents. So I'll talk about that a little bit when we get together in April. If you want to really transform your company and make sure you are competitive, what you need to be doing is looking at the engine of your company. Most companies, the engine is run by people, right? People are the engine. What you need to be figuring out is, how do I make AI the engine of my business? That doesn't mean you get rid of people. You wrap people around that engine to steer it and move it forward. If you can successfully do that, then instead of thinking about, well, maybe I'm going to grow my business 20% next year or 25% or 30%, maybe you can start to think about growing your business 3x next year or 5x or 10x, because now you're amplifying the people that you have and giving the ability to do a lot more. So it's not just about productivity. Productivity is one vector of performance. It's, can you amplify the intuition of the people that you have so that they know when to pick up the phone at just the right time to call somebody and see if there's an opportunity? Can you amplify the creativity of the marketing department that you have? How do you use AI to amplify all these different vectors of performance of your team so that you can show up? The internet was a way of allowing a smaller organization to appear to be a bigger organization, right? They could have a website and make it look nice, and they looked really professional. It was a way of showing up and appearing bigger. AI is a tool that actually allows you to be and behave bigger. You can start to amplify your operations and behave as a company that is 5 or 10x or 100x your size. And that's the opportunity that every business, including real estate investment community, needs to consider.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbassociatesllc.com. I'm old enough to remember all those revolutions you talked about, the computer, the home computer. I had an Apple IIe when I was in high school. And I remember the computer labs in college before we all had our own personal computers. And of course, I remember the internet revolution. But the difference here is that those all took a lot of time. Like I had my Apple IIe for years before it was obsolete. Now it seems like with AI, it's weeks, if not days, before something new and better comes out. Like I finally just figured out how to use Claude in Excel and just gave it some instructions, and it changed a spreadsheet for me in a way that would have taken me at least 20 minutes. It did it in 20 seconds. So it's so accelerated now compared to those other changes, those revolutions that you talked about, that it's very hard to keep up, which then creates, it used to be, okay, you don't want to change your iPhone because the new one's coming out in a year. Now it's like, I almost don't want to adopt a new AI because I think there'll be a better one coming the following week. So how do you make sense of all this? Like, how do you advise companies that you work with and people you advise on how to integrate AI into their workflow and their business without suggesting something that's going to be obsolete and old a week later?
Yeah, you're right. Things are changing very rapidly, Brian, but you have to back a horse. The thing with AI is it lives in the cloud mostly. And so if you choose a ChatGPT or a Claude or Gemini from Google, it doesn't matter which one you pick, it's going to keep getting better. Probably every few months, there's a new release behind the scenes. And what will happen is whichever one you've picked will just seem smarter. And if you design AI implementations properly, you can actually swap them in and out behind the scenes. So there are frameworks that let you do that. Without getting into the technical side of things, you can sort of swap in the brain. If there's a new better brain from Google this month, you could just switch over. Or there's a new better brain or an equally good brain, but it's 1/10 of the price to use. You can swap it out. So you can maintain flexibility if you design it well. But on a personal level, I use ChatGPT and I use Gemini. I use them for different things. I know people who use Claude for creative writing, and they use Gemini Nano Banana to create images, and they use ChatGPT as a thought partner. So it really, I think it's a time when we're all waiting to see if any winners emerge. But at the moment, we have this sort of leapfrog race that's going on, and you have to just bet on a few horses simultaneously and get used to using them all.
How are you personally using AI now? Like, where does it fit into your life, and what are your goals with AI?
My purpose, my personal purpose as a futurist, is to help businesses navigate this AI era and thrive in it, right? That's what I'm trying to do. How do I do that? I deliver keynotes, I write books, I write blogs, and I use AI to help me do those things. I don't have AI deliver my keynotes, but the images that I use, and I spend a lot of time crafting the images, the animations, the messages in there, they're all fine-tuned to land with an audience so that they remember them. You know, going and seeing a British bald fella on stage for an hour, it can be great fun for an hour, but if 20 minutes later you've forgotten most of the things he said, I've not had the impact I wanted. So I work with AI to fine-tune my messages, my delivery, to make sure that as much of it sticks in my audience's heads as possible. So those are the sorts of ways I do it. AI creates my animated images. I use it to help me with my videos. There's always videos in my presentation. And I use it as a thought partner. When I'm thinking about a quite complex topic, how would I explain that in a way that it's accessible to everybody in my audience? That's what I use AI for, not to dumb it down, but to find analogies and ways of delivering it in a way that it'll land.
What are the common hesitations and pushbacks that you hear from corporations, people about AI? I mean, and not everybody is on this bandwagon yet, and I'm sure you get a lot of resistance. What do you typically hear?
One of them is, well, I tried AI a year ago and it was crap. So, it's all hype. It's all hype. Well, if you tried AI a year ago and haven't tried it since, it's a lot different. Imagine going from, talking to a toddler to now talking to a potential future Nobel Prize winning teenager. That's kind of what's happened in just a year. So things are very different. So that's the first one I hear is, it's just hype. It's not hype. And you're about to see some significant impacts in the way that we all work and live our lives, just because we're on this exponential curve. If you look back, an exponential curve looks linear, and our human brains are only able to process linearly. So you look back and you see a trend line that looks flat, but it's not. It's actually a steep ramp. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, we've done some AI implementations, but they weren't successful. They didn't give us the business results that we wanted. So we're slowing down, holding back and waiting. Unfortunately, some people who went early either tried to do implementations with technology that wasn't ready for prime time, and therefore they failed, or they didn't understand how important it was to get data ready in their company, ready for AI. With AIs, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. If your data isn't well organized and clean, then your AI will not be as successful as you want it to be. So I see those sorts of things. The other things I hear, of course, fear. People are naturally fearful about this. Most people have seen The Terminator and The Matrix, right? And Hollywood has done a number on us all, me included, right? Frightened the crap out of us because that makes for an interesting story. And we have to recognize that if Arnold Schwarzenegger had dropped out of the future and said, "Hello, would you like a cup of tea?" that would not be an interesting story. So we're all a bit afraid of it. We're also afraid because we're worried about being replaced and made less relevant or irrelevant. And the way you combat that, the way you make yourself robot-proof, is you invest in yourself and lean into this stuff. And it doesn't matter if you're 2 years from retirement and you're thinking, I'll ride this out. You can't. You need to engage with this now. So that's what I encourage everybody I speak with to do, is to not just learn about AI. And I'm not talking about the technical side of things. Learn about its possibilities, its capabilities, and practice. Use this stuff. And if you can, set aside an hour a day. If you can't, then half an hour a day, just to try these tools out. Give them a shot.
Tell our listeners, our audience, why should they be there for your keynote speech on April 27th here in Grand Rapids at the DeVos Place Conference Center, 9 a.m. Why do they need to be in that room?
You need the information I'm going to share with you. What I'm going to bring you is I'm going to lay out what is going to happen in the next few years, what are the different types of AI that are coming, what are their capabilities, how can you use them to, one, support yourself as an individual, and two, to turbocharge your business so you can remain successful and hopefully wildly successful in the next few years. Without this information, without knowing the game that other people will be playing, if you're not playing that same game, you're not going to be successful. So I'm going to bring useful information. I'm going to lay it out in a very clear fashion so that everybody can understand it and appreciate the change that's coming, and most importantly, what you need to do about it. So be there or be square. I look forward to seeing you all on April the 27th.
Steve, you're also going to be doing a special VIP luncheon that day too. And you can find out more at our website, MidwestREIconference.com. That'll be in the show notes. But the last question for you, and this is not an AI question. This is like, what in your life, what are your favorite hacks or apps or tools, not AI, that you can't live without?
Not AI. I live in a world of AI, Brian. How can I come up with a non-AI tool or hack? I'm not sure I have one. All of mine are AI hacks and tools.
Then what's your favorite AI hack then?
One of my favorite things to do, I walk to try and stay fit. And it probably doesn't look like it, but I do try. And I put my headphones in and I go for a walk and I put ChatGPT in conversation mode and I use it to brainstorm. And I use it to brainstorm business ideas, to brainstorm content plans for my keynotes. But I also use it to brainstorm an idea of what I'm going to do for my parents' 80th birthday that's coming up, or plans to travel. And so I use that time when I'm exercising just to talk to AI, and it's really helpful. So that's my hack, I suggest.
For those who have never done that, I mean, it's talking back to you. You're actually talking to it, and it's a conversation, isn't it?
It's like having a thought partner who knows a lot of things that you don't, and it's really helpful. And I'm hoping to go to Montenegro this summer and spend some time, and I'm already using ChatGPT to brainstorm, well, what are the interesting cities based on what it knows about me, because I've been having conversations for a number of years now. It's able to recommend wine regions I might want to go to and places I might want to go hiking. So yeah, it's an incredible thought partner if you haven't used it that way.
We used ChatGPT to plan our trip to London and Scotland last summer and just nailed every single suggestion, even grouped it so that it was all, every day we were kind of in the same area and we didn't have to crisscross back and forth.
You can even use it as a travel guide when you go somewhere. I was in Bratislava a couple of years ago and we went to the castle and it was closed for the day. But we could walk around the outside in the grounds, and there were some information boards, but they were not in English. And so I just said, okay, we're at Bratislava Castle. I want to know the history of who lived here. You're a tour guide. Talk to us for 5 minutes about what we should know about the area and what battles happened here. And it was amazing. My wife and I listened in and walked around and had our own private tour guide.
Steve, I know you're coming to the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference on April 27th. And we're really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, tell our viewers, our listeners, how they can find out more about you. I know you have a book that you wrote. They might want to read it before they come hear you speak. So why don't you please share that with us?
So you can find out more about me and what I do at stevebrown.ai. That's my website. There's a blog there. There's a training course there if you're interested in that. And if you prefer to read, this is my new book. It's called The AI Ultimatum. It came out just in mid-November. So it's fresh, hot off the presses, and it is written for business leaders. So I recognize that business leaders are kind of busy. They're running a business. They don't have time to go and do all the research they need to do to understand AI. So I wrote this book for you. It is designed to walk you through the different flavors of AI, how you might use it in your business. And if you want to, it's great pre-reading before I see you on April the 27th in Grand Rapids.
So Steve, like you just said, you're going to be speaking Monday, April 27th at 9 a.m. at the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference, which is happening both the 27th and the 28th at the Voss Place Conference Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You can go to MidwestREIconference.com to find out more and get your tickets. Once again, at 12:30 that same day, you are going to be hosting a VIP lunch for a smaller group who want to go deeper on practical AI strategy and real-world use cases. Once again, go to MidwestREIConference.com. And Steve, I can't thank you enough for being here today and helping promote the conference. And I just cannot wait to hear you speak on April 27th.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, Brian. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's HIGinvestor.com. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB & Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.